Welcome to Speak with Power Consulting and Innovate QA events. My name is Leo Novsky, and I'm an executive communication coach.
And I'm Tatyana Arbouzova. I'm a founder of Innovate QA, an engineering leader.
That's fantastic. And so for me, why I am here is because as a communication coach, I help business professionals like you overcome underconfidence, oversharing, and anxiety that often derails communication. And I show specific effective tools that can help you speak with more power and confidence and poise. And hopefully today, I get to show you some of these tools and have a really powerful communication with Tatyana about how does this apply in the real world in both networking, communication, interviewing, and so forth. Tatyana, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So I've been in technology for 20 plus years, but right now I'm a founder of Innovate QA and I help engineering leaders deliver high quality products on time by implementing modern state-of-the-art quality processes that drive efficiency and confidence.
All right. So as you could hear, two different introductions. And I'm wondering, Tatyana, how are we going to be able to get some comments? So if people can actually in the comments section share who they are and maybe a little like a snippet of what they do, this can really help us in the future try to, or later on in this session, to kind of process some of this.
Yes, so please put maybe your location and your brief kind of like introduction of what you do in chat. And I'm watching the chat and I'll be able to um, share some of this live.
All right, we got Alex from engineering manager, right? Uh,
Yep.
awesome. Welcome, man. Ken, good to see you, brother. Yuri, thank you so much for coming. Okay, Albert, perfect product manager. Let's see, perfect. Senior software engineer from Ireland. Marvelous. James, business operations, Seattle. So as you guys are watching, typing it in and watching it yourself, I want you to reflect on the fact that by sharing that piece of information, how much information are you actually sharing? How much uh, story? How memorable is it, or how effective is it at sharing information, right? And getting your story across, right? And uh, Tatyana, as you're looking through these, right? Um, knowing the name and the position and where people are from, how much does that actually tell you about them?
Right. It gives me very limited information about kind of who they are.
Right. Right. And you all are familiar with this. This is not news to anybody. The challenge, the biggest challenge about this is that it doesn't leave an impression and it doesn't give people an opportunity to help. So today, I want to do four things. Very specifically recognize why you need a powerful 30-word introduction. Number two is to start craft your own introduction. And then to learn how to use it in communication. And finally, review the next steps. Now, on the bottom, you have my Linktree link, and in it, there will be links to all the other events that are going to be happening on LinkedIn Live, as well as the workshops that Tatyana and I are designing in September. So let's move on. So my hope is to go really quickly about the content, right? And then actually work with people and help people figure out what their 30-word introduction is. So go ahead. Next slide.
By the way, Leo, I see some introductions that are more than just the name, and I like those. I think we should work on this. I see Donald said, I'm Donald Young. My company develops coolers that extend the reach of blood for prolonged use cases. So I think this is a great start for us, right? So we could take some of these examples and make do a makeover in today's session.
Absolutely. I wonder who taught you how to do this, Donald. No, this is beautiful. It's so good to see you, brother. Fantastic. And then people are kind of getting. I see David says extremely fit and currently looking for my next role. You know what? That's memorable. All right, so here's today is going to be hyper focused on a one question. Right? You get this question all the time. So what do you do? What do you do? And then people say, I am a engineer. I'm an engineer in Boeing. I am a quality control person, or I'm an executive communication coach. And from there, they're kind of stuck, or I'm often stuck. So the question is, how do you get out of it and what's at stake? So let me just briefly explain what's at stake. What's at stake here is the first 30 seconds of interaction is usually the most powerful, the most effective. And if that becomes either boring or somehow not effective, the connection is possibly lost. More importantly, there is the issue of opportunity cost. Because as I like to say that the purpose of networking or any kind of communication is to ultimately exchange value. And especially in this environment, the value really resides in context, in connections, in the right people. Oh, you know what? I have someone that you need to meet. Correct? So the question to you is, how can you answer this question so that you make it easier for others to help you, right? So help them help you. And that's what we're here about. So additionally, I'm going to go ahead. Next one. I'm going to show you this framework. And this framework goes for this 30-word introduction, as well as for any other presentation that I help people teach, or I teach how to do. Whether it's 1-minute pitch, 3-minute pitch for entrepreneurs, whether it's to answer questions for interviews. The reason why I use it is because it's so effective at helping me figure out where I am so I don't get lost. It also gives me an opportunity to fix things when things are not working well. So here's what it is. It's a START framework, and I'm going to ask you to try to use it. The first one, S, stands for setup. In this case, setup answers the question, who do you serve? And we'll come back to it in a second. Second, tension. That is the most important part that's often missed. And that is, what problem do you solve for those specific people? Next, we have action. What do you do to resolve that tension? Okay. Now, next one is resolution. What benefits are there from your actions? And finally is takeaway. Right? What do you want to have? How is this relevant to the situation or to the person you are speaking with? Okay. So when Tatyana, for example, shared her introduction, which was actually really well crafted, it really showed her strengths, correct? She talked about how she helps the QA experience. What I shared with you is, and what I want you to hyper focus it for, at least for now, try it on for size, right? Is that people that you're speaking with, and you are obviously on the receiving end of this, they are much more receptive to tension and challenge, and they will remember tension and challenge way more than any action. In a normal communication, people skip setup, skip tension, and go straight to action. They say, I'm an executive communication coach and I help people overcome their issues, or I help people speak better, or I help my company grow, right? The challenge is that the secret is in the tension. Okay? And that's what I want you to kind of practice. And I'll break it down for you. But the idea here, when you introduce yourself and answer the question, so what do you do? Focus on who do you serve. Now, Tatyana, in your previous position, who did you serve? Who were your customers, so to speak, or
engineering leaders who I was helping basically set up the processes to make sure our releases are confident.
And Tatyana and I have worked together already, and so she knows, because the most people, if you were asking, if you were answering this, chances are you would say, I would help my company do this, or I help people in general do this. But that's not helpful, because I can't help you find general people. Definitely not companies. Never spoken to a company in my life. Only spoken to representatives, right? And so there's got to be someone that you actually helping solve a problem. So helping top leaders in IT companies. Okay, now I'm starting to think as a listener of leaders of IT companies, right? The second part is the most important, and that is, what problem do you help them solve, right? I was at
Leo,
a,
should we
yeah,
ask people to write down who do they serve? Because
yep.
I think this is a very hard question to answer. And a lot of times when we ask people, they say, I serve the company, I serve the organization, right? So let's practice. Now that you guys are thinking about it, who do you serve in your role or in the future role that you would like? Can we hear some um, thoughts and ideas? So we can clarify it, and then we'll move on to the next one. And
So the thought here, again, the first two are the most important. So who do you serve, and what problem do you serve for them? And those two things have to be visceral, right? Not kind of company talk, but more visceral, so that if you are that person, you're like, she knows my problem. She understands my problem. When I say to people that I help business professional and entrepreneurs overcome the challenge of underconfidence, oversharing, and anxiety when they present.
so we have some
Yeah.
answers. So Patrick serves other engineers in the data analytics organization at Google.
So I'll address Patrick's, which is really good. I serve other engineers in a data analytics organization at Google, right? So a little wordy, but I serve data analytic engineers, and there gotta be specific ones, right? Now again, I know Patrick personally, so I know he's not looking for a job, but I bet you that he is still looking to explain what he does to those who for whom it matters, right? So the more precise the definition is, the better. And sometimes we serve more than one group of people, and that's okay. You can actually adjust the 30-word introduction to whatever the audience is. But very often, people shy away from being specific because they don't want to
Yeah.
miss anyone.
Let's take a look at some of these comments. Elise, I like that you said, as a QA analyst, I serve software development leaders. So I'm also in the quality field. And so I think you're right that we are serving the engineering leaders. Now, Donald is talking about that he's developing the tools for military medics and civilians. And so I would say, Leo, what do you think? Do we need to bring in the who are you serving rather than what you're doing first?
Exactly. Who do you serve first? Absolutely. Again, this is not, there's no like, you got to do it this way or else, correct? But as an exercise to focus people on the people you serve is critical. Why? Because your phone. Your phone has contacts. Your phone has numbers. And it doesn't have problems. It doesn't have solutions, right? It doesn't have jobs. It doesn't even have companies, but it has people. And so when Donald says, I develop tools for military medics and civilian EMS agencies, I immediately can think of people in my circle who apply to that. That is the secret sauce. That's the hook. That's why it's a setup. Make sense? Luke says, I serve S500 companies in government cloud. So that's a really interesting one. Okay. Again, take it for what it's worth. That's good, but not good enough, because you don't serve companies. There are people who will buy your products, Luke, right? There are people who will get it. The people who you want to meet, because that's the takeaway will be, can you introduce me, or who do you know, right? That's one of the ways to do a takeaway. But you can't do that unless you really specify. right? So there are people in the government cloud, in the S500 companies that you actually interact with, right? And you solve their problem. All right. So
So
Jakar says end users, customers.
So that's an interesting one, right? Because the end users are not going to pay you, right? And we're not going to connect you to the end user. So, Jakar, yes, we as a quality, I think you're in quality professionals. Our interest is to help the users, but when you're introducing yourself, you want people to be able to help you, right? And so you might want to say, hey, how can I help in my workplace, basically?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And this is an iterative process, right? There's no one size fits all. You have to adjust it to your field or to your needs, whether you're looking for a job or you're looking for clients, right? That's a very different thing, right? So if you're looking for clients, then you absolutely want to go with the end user as your setup. But if you're looking for a job, your hiring manager is who you serve. Does that make sense? But the most important thing I want to go to is now the tension. This is where I find the tension. This is the hardest thing for people to do. And there's literally a psychological barrier to it. We do not want to talk about problems. We don't like pain. Who likes pain? No one. But it's what we remember. We react twice as much to discomfort than we are to comfort. That's why actions kind of go over people's heads. But if you know that I can help you fix your leg, you'll be like, oh my God, my leg's been hurting all day long. Please help me. At that point, you don't even care how. And that's the key. There is the dual problem here that happens in communication. Number one, people skip tension. And number two is they spend all their time on action. And people mostly don't care, or they don't have enough proficiency. And especially in high-tech fields and so forth, people hire you for your skill set. That means that all they need to know is that you can do the job, and then they will hire you to do it. The more you talk about the specifics, the more you dig the hole. You don't want that. You don't need that. At least not with people who you're trying to sell to, or you're trying to get hired by, or you're trying to get investment from. Those people, they don't need your details. What they need is high-level engagement that engages the hearts and the minds. So write down right now that you know who you serve, what problem do you solve for them? And so let's see. Do we have...
So while we're waiting for people to put the full kind of like introduction, right, based on this framework, we can take some of the existing example. I think some of the people already put their full introduction. So like Prashant, for example, said, I used to help business use their desired services on platform of their choice via embedded APIs and integrations.
Okay, that's a great example of how we normally speak, right? So a couple of thoughts, Prashant. Number one, it's too general, and it's very if you're speaking in a general sense to people who don't know what APIs are, for example, and integrations, that could actually go over people's heads. Again, you're trying to connect with specific audience, right? And again, you don't help businesses, you help somebody very specific. And then you said use their desired services on platform of their choice, right? So all of you think through what Prashant is saying. He's skipping the tension, right? Yes, of course, they want to be able to you help them to use their desired services on the platform of the choice. But without you, what do? They struggle to connect what they need to do on the platform they need to use. Correct? So just walk yourself back from your action. Walk yourself back from benefits to get to the problem that you're having. And this is a great exercise because it'll help you in interviews. It'll help you in communication with clients because the tension is what matters. I'm sure you've been on the other end where people tell you about this beautiful thing that dices and slices and make julienne fries. And you're like, I don't believe it. Doesn't matter, right? But if someone says, do you need French fries? Are your French fries soggy? Are they really disgusting when you finally get them to cook? And you're like, yes, yes, they are, right? Then you've earned the right to tell them about dices and slices and julienne fries. Does that make sense?
So I think the example. So what we're seeing so far doesn't have the tension yet. So I'm waiting for someone to insert the tension in the introduction. So let's take Patrick again and think about how do we insert the tension here. So I'll help data analytics engineers at Google improve productivity by evangelizing developer excellence. I also make BigQuery more reliable by improving release qualification. Right? So this is, I think, is missing the tension again, right?
Yep. And I happen to know Patrick personally, and so this is critical. So again, Patrick, for you personally, you got the who, okay? But what are they actually struggling with? So you're improving productivity by evangelizing, but so they're unproductive, right? So they get stuck in something. So what are these product engineers, data analytic engineers struggling with that you can before you come in, that they say, oh, thank God you're here? That's the question. Right. And again, I also want to, as he writes, I want to comment on James. He says, I serve small plumbing and HVAC companies by building tools to save them time and money. Skip the tension, right? They are stuck. They keep missing phone calls, right? You help small plumbers and HVAC guys who miss phone calls in business every time they work when they missed a call, right? Through the power of AI, right? Something like that, right? So, yeah, see, they struggle to ship reliable code, Patrick says, right? Now, again, all of you who are listening, right? Patrick helps data analytics engineers who struggle to ship reliable code improve productivity by evangelizing developer excellence. We'll work on that. But do you get it? Like, I get it now, right? And now anytime I think of a data analytics engineer, shipping reliable code is simple, but it's, right? It hits you, right? Right? Or, who struggle, right? It's the struggle to ship, or who deal with unreliable code. That's even more powerful, right? So again, that's good. Anu
let's
said,
take Anu. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I reduced regression time by 2 weeks to 1.5 weeks by routine. Okay, so Anu, that's marvelous line in your resume. Like that's the data. That's the data point, and that is really useful. However, what are they struggling with, right? So whoever is your person you serve, right? You help those business managers who get bogged down, who's
they get pressurized to ship more frequently or faster. Yeah.
Right. So they're late. They late. They shipping late. Are you guys getting it? You're shipping late. The data, right? You help them ship on time, correct? So this kind of data, the detailed data, doesn't really fit into the introduction because it's too much information. It's that oversharing. But it is very important in an interview and so forth. Rima said, you fried them twice. That how you get them crispy. I'm assuming French fries.
Yes.
But that's really, really powerful. Good. Okay. So I want to make sure that we keep going, guys. But I want to keep moving to action. So who do you serve? What problem do you serve for them? Now you talk about action. By doing what? And again, we're talking about 30 words or less, which means that it's 5 words or less. How do you say what you do in 5 words or less? Right? I was at a workout today, and I actually asked that of one of the guys who was working out, and he works for Amazon. And again, I asked him, and I didn't understand what he did. But then I asked him about actions and tension and action. And he's like, I help the managers, like high top level managers, not get lost without numbers. I give them, by giving them the KPIs when they need it. And I'm like, okay, I know what you do, right? So in my case, for example, the action is I help people, through one-on-one coaching and group coaching. I help people speak with more power, confidence, and poise, for example, right? And that's more a resolution, right? But through one-on-one coaching and group coaching, I do this. So people who hear it, they understand where that fits, correct? So once you're getting there, why don't you write down now action? How do you actually solve it? And many of you have already done it. The issue with streamlining your action is not that you missed it. You haven't missed it. You just say too much. So boil it down, and boil it down so that your 5-year-old can understand, right? And that is really critical. All right, so let's see what we have. Anyone else? Keep writing. I'm loving the interactions.
Do you want to take Albert? So Albert says, I serve makers of platform products which appear too complicated for people to use.
I serve makers of platforms products which appear too complicated for people to use. So the makers of platform products, right? So makers of platform products struggle with what? They struggle with customer adoption because things are too complex, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Albert, you let me know if that is indeed the case. But that's the point. What Albert is doing, unfortunately, is combining your users and customers sometimes, that people combine them. So people, your customers are the ones that pay you money, and the users are people who use your products. Sometimes they're the same, but very often they're different. And I like to use the example of, a toy maker. The customer is the parent, the user is the kid. You want to attract both, but you need to understand the difference. All right. So
let's take one more. We have Alex. Alex says, I turn complex payment and identity challenges into scalable, secure solutions that drive cost savings, reduce fraud, and fuel business growth.
Wonderful. So this actually has the tension is pretty good, can be better, but pretty good, right? Complex payment and identity challenges. I know what that means. The action is actually very good as well. And there is definitely a resolution. But he makes a really key mistake. And this is where it's a challenging one. When we start the thing when we make the setup, when we make it about ourselves, it sounds pompous. It just does. So yes, I bet you do, but you do it for someone, Alex, right? You turn complex payments. So who do you serve, right? So you help those people turn complex payment and identity challenges into scalable, secure solutions. Yeah, right? I help business owners, small business owners, right? Turn complex payment and identity challenges into scalable, secure solutions, right? Or even better, I help small business owners in IT spaces or in, whoever you're, in fintech, right? Like financial analysts, financial professionals, right? Turn complex payment and identity challenges into scale. Then, okay, I got it. So I could think of at least 3 or 4 financial analysts. However, if you're not looking for financial analysts, but you're looking for chief marketing officers in the finance field, that's really important for me to know so that I start thinking in the right direction. Okay.
I think it's time to celebrate Patrick's makeover.
Okay, let's do it.
He's getting it there. So I help data analytics engineers that struggle to ship reliable code improve productivity by building tools and infrastructure they can use during development.
Woohoo! Now, Patrick, if I may tweak it just one more way, I want you to use weighty adjectives. Adjectives add color, right? So when you say help data analytics engineers who struggle to ship reliable code, improve by building tools. What kind of tools? Like elegant tools. I know you. Like you're gonna create elegant tools, right? And visionary infrastructure. I don't know. That's a little too much, but they can use during the crucial development. Do you see my point? Again, not to get too far or more than 30 words, God forbid, but you understand that is precisely the kind of. And so my question to you, Patrick, once you hear this is, how does it feel to hear that and to read it? But I mean, you did your job yesterday and you're going to do it today and you're going to do it on Monday. But does it make a difference? So that's for you to answer right now. All right, let me finish up here.
So when I created my introduction after this exercise and I said it, it made me feel more proud of what I do because it sounded a lot more, powerful and impactful.
Right.
Right. So I hope that that's how it makes you guys feel when you create this introduction.
It is indeed. And I sometimes use this as a party trick. And there was one time I was at a party, two glasses of wine in, and I met this guy, Alex, and I asked him, so what do you do? And he said, I'm an engineer at Boeing. And I said, no, you're not. Come here. We got to talk. So I coach him for about 5 minutes, and then we go into the kitchen, and there are a bunch of people, including his wife, that are just talking. And I go to his wife and I say, hey, do you know what Alex does, right? And she turns around and she's like, yeah, he is an engineer at Boeing. And I said, nah, Alex, tell your wife what you do. And Alex comes over, he's an engineer, so total flat face. Like there's no like, he's not trying to act it out, but he's like, I help planes not fall out of the air. I'd love to tell you more, but it's classified. And I swear his wife looked at him a different way. She's like, oh, wow, what? Yeah, right? He's still an engineer at Boeing. But you're right. The way you share your story makes a huge difference. So finally, so resolution is how is it benefiting? How does it benefit, right? And I think everyone seems to be doing really good about that. Again, being clear on this. So setup, tension, action, resolution is your 30-word introduction. Your takeaway is how relevant is it to this situation, whatever the situation is. So go ahead to the next slide. So here's mine, right? I empower professionals to overcome anxiety, underconfidence, and oversharing that can derail presentations. Each one of us have felt that through workshops and one-on-one coaching to lead, sell, and speak with power. It's just the beginning, correct? It's just a nugget. It's just a seed. Go ahead, one more. And today I will show you how to create your own powerful introduction to engage your audience in 30 words or less. So here I adapted my transition or takeaway to my audience, which is you. That might change very differently depending on who you're speaking with, right? All right, next slide.
Leo, I see one more, I think a very good makeover. Can I read that?
Yeah, please.
I help fast-paced software development teams that struggle with critical bugs, sneaky regressions, and sluggish releases boost product quality and team velocity by crafting robust test automation frameworks and conducting meticulous testing.
Okay, so well done. Well done. Now, again, I'm not sure how many words there is. That is a little bit more words than 30, I'm thinking. But again, by the way, when I say 30, I don't count A's and ands, but but the idea here is you want to get it. So this has all the pieces. Well done. Now time to boil it down, making sure that whatever you say is exactly the thing that you want to say and that resonates in your heart. Just like what Patrick said, definitely makes me feel better about my job, right? That in itself, the pride that people feel in what they do that's worth itself. And of course, I don't need to tell you that if you are proud of what you do, then other people will get infected by your enthusiasm. If you come in and you're like, I'm an engineer at Google and I help people like figure out stuff, like that's not a piece to digest, right?
And Leo, let's also say that this is a good introduction maybe to it in the resume, like in your summary. Like you could use a similar formula instead of saying the same thing, engineer with 20 plus experience, right? If you put kind of like, hey, here's the problems I solve by doing this, that I think would make you stand out as well, right?
Absolutely. And this 30-word introduction is literally your kind of ticket. You could use it, adjust it how you want it. So next slide. So again, what I wanted you to think about is that you need this introduction. You can use this template, right? And then you get to improve it and iterate on it again and again and again. So that is the key that I ultimately wanted you to get out of this particular training. Now, this is obviously just a tip of the iceberg. So we're going to do a couple of things going forward. There are 2 other LinkedIn Live events that are happening that are going to build on this. They're going to build on the START framework, but also going to focus on key elements of now that you have your message, how do you activate your allies, right? Because people hate networking for a good reason, and because it doesn't work, and because it's demeaning at times. And there are ways to turn it around. And then, of course, how do you interview like a boss? How do you interview in the way where you turn the tables from being the beggar to being the one that is wanted? And there are ways to leverage your stories just the same way as you just leveraged your 30-word introduction to make it work. And then our goal is to then take it to the next level. So Tatyana and I are iterating this concept. We both have incredibly deep skill sets. Tatyana didn't get a chance to share hers as an operator, but as much. But we are planning upcoming workshops in September. So there will be similar works. The topics are going to be similar, but they are going to be a 2-hour Zoom workshop specifically to help people tighten their message, activate their network, and interview like a boss. And that process, you can get the QR code. You can also, I'm going to be adding it on the Linktree link, so you can actually access it. And then we're going to put in the comments a code or send you the code, savings code for 30% off these workshops, since you've been such a good audience and you are participating and you're engaging. So you can take a screenshot of this. Obviously, that will be on LinkedIn and on the Linktree. So we have just a few more minutes. It's 11:44. I wanted to finish in 45 minutes and then give people a chance to ask specific questions, as well as to make any suggestions or give specific feedback. What was your thought, Tatyana, on our inaugural LinkedIn Live event?
Leo, what I enjoyed the most is seeing people in action trying to work through this exercise live and seeing the progress that was made, right? And how it came from something that they started with and became this amazing introduction, which they felt proud of. So to me, that was the most valuable kind of experience out of this.
Yeah, no, I share that with you. I could just feel Patrick going like his chest just kind of lifting up and saying, yeah, those guys are going to be really screwed without me. And
Yeah, and I think
that is really
Omotala
important.
also did a great job. I think we can give them the top two awards
Yep, yep.
for the makeover.
Absolutely. I actually would love people to share their 30-word introductions with me. Just DM me directly or DM Tatyana, and share them. If you do, I promise you to reply and give you any kind of tips and tricks, or suggest a particularly uh, pithy adjective. I also want to encourage you to actually leverage the power of AI and allow it to help you figure out what works for any
Yeah.
specific audience.
But I
And
would recommend doing your own draft first and
absolutely.
then ask AI to help you with it, because this way it will have the most context of what you're trying to say.
Absolutely. Like with anything, they've done several studies now, and they show unequivocally that the best use of AI is not to replace our thought, but to augment it and
Yeah.
to have a communication with it. So,
Leo, we have one question. Maybe we can answer
yeah.
really quick from Prashant. What would you recommend to be the balance between something specific and something generic, especially if you did was something specialized or what people don't resonate with?
So that's a great question, Prashant. My answer is it goes to the heart of communication, that what you say only matters as much as you understand who you're saying it to. Okay, so most speakers operate erroneously from the point of sharing knowledge, right? You're an expert. You want to share knowledge, correct? No, you don't. You don't want to. Nobody wants it. They can't digest it. Indigestible. You spent 20, 30 years learning how to digest this information. You can't ask people to do that. They have their own problems. So instead, you want to meet people where they're at and speak to their level and to their need. So when you're speaking, Prashant, to other AI product managers, you can go full force and you can go all your acronyms and nail it. When you're talking to a potential employer, don't do that. Go for what they want. Go for strategy. When you talk to your, 10-year-old, right? Or let's just say, when you talk to in a networking event, right? Just say what the engineer at Boeing said, right? I help the planes you fly not fall out of the air. I'll tell you more, but it's classified. So make it so that it's relevant to them, to their level, and then they will listen, right? Because that's a gift you're giving them. I want to add one more thing that is really, really crucial. And we're going to actually go into that in the workshop version of this training. And that is one of the best things you could do in networking is to help others summarize what they do in 30 words or less. So the first thing, you get to learn how to do it yourself. But then you get to go there and you share, and they go, wow, that's so interesting. And then you say, okay, well, what do you do? And then they give you, 30-minute thing about where they went to school and what they've done since then. And so one of the things you can do, and again, that's not for everyone, but if you are able to kind of synthesize their key thing, right? They will leave saying, this person gets me. Like, this person gets me. And in my experience, there are very few things that are more valuable than being heard, being seen. And at the end of the day, that's going kind of a, what do you call it? One of the preview of the stop networking and start activating your allies. You want to stop sharing information. You want to stop making it transactional. You've got to make it engaging, emotional, and you want to make it so that people feel seen. If people feel seen, they will literally turn over things just to help you, because it's so rare. And because when you've been seen, you've been doing that too, right? And so that's the key. When people speak, yes, you want to have your introduction that kind of engages their hearts and their minds, but the most important part in the networking is not that presentation, it is actually how you hear and listen to them. So that's a little preview for next week. If you want to come to the event, I think it's at 1:00 on Friday.
On August 14th.
Yep, on
It's
August
actually
14th.
Thursday.
Yep. Oh, Thursday. Yep.
Thursday at
So
1 p.m.
Thursday at
So
1 p.m.
if you guys enjoyed this, please join us next week, and we'll do another exercise for how to activate your allies.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Actually, Tatyana, if you can put the if you can share the screen again with the last slide, so that it kind of is one of the last things that we have on this video.
I put the links. Yes, I can share that. Let me see. I also put the links in our event for the
Perfect.
LinkedIn
Yep.
Lives, and I'm gonna put the Eventbrite for our workshop link as well there with the discount code.
That's beautiful. All
so
right.
if you guys wanted to work more in depth and more in person on these things, then you guys can join the 2-hour workshop that we're gonna host in September.
Yep. And if you take all three, it will give you both the value, and it'll combine, and it'll allow you to really synchronize and to really work with each other in groups to make it better, because iron sharpens iron. You need to actually go through this with others, right? So I'm going to finish with this. First of all, I'm going to ask you all, if you can, those of you who are still on, to put, if there was one word or a sentence that kind of summarizes your experience during this workshop, write that out. But what I'm going to leave you with is this, that speaking with power is really not about taking anything away, but actually building something, bringing something to the table. It's creating a win-win-win experience. And it's that approach that really drives what I do. So when you are interested in whether or not you're trying to find a job or raise money or really improve the way you communicate with your team inside the work that you do, and you need some help, connect with me. I would be more than happy to work with you individually and try to streamline how you think and how you speak about what you do. And again, Tatyana, thank you so much. You are so good.
Yeah.
We work so well together. It's awesome.
I hope that people got value out of this event, and we hope to see you guys in the next event. See you soon.
See you soon, everybody.